So, in today's episode, question: do you have to have an entrepreneurial mindset to become successful entrepreneur? And the answer is, yes, you need to have the mindset, but no, you don't need to be born with it. So if you don't have it today, and if you think like, oh, I'm not an entrepreneur, then it doesn't mean that you cannot become an entrepreneur. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm gonna draw from my own experience here, and I think that's the best. Basically, I am coming from a non-entrepreneurial family. Like many people who were born in the Soviet Union, entrepreneurship didn't exist. We didn't have private sector, so we couldn't be entrepreneurs. So I never thought that I could actually bring value as an entrepreneur. And then I met my husband, who is an entrepreneur in his skin. He was selling candy at school when he was like 6 years old. So he always knew he needs to be an entrepreneur, and he was always aiming for this. So in our relationship, I always thought he's the entrepreneur and I'm the executor. So I built a career in event management, and I was just a solid employee for some companies. I was deeply unhappy, like a lot of people, doing a job that maybe they even like, but eventually you're selling your time for money. And even if you are good at this job, it's not scalable. There's only that much you can do, and there's only that much money you can earn, because you can ask a raise, but how much would it going to be? It's never going to be double. I never thought that I could be an entrepreneur because I didn't see myself as a problem solver. And entrepreneurs are people who can identify a problem in the world and create a solution for this problem. And I thought I'm not this kind of person. But then, after all these books that I've read about entrepreneurship and the right mindset, and speeches of Tony Robbins, etc., etc., I realized that this is just a story we tell ourselves. We tell ourselves a story behind which we are hiding, and then it's just easier to hide behind the story and tell ourselves and our friends and family, oh yeah, you know what, I cannot start a business because I'm not like Jonah, I'm not an entrepreneurial mind. So the only option for me is to look for a job, because this is what I'm good at, and this is the bottom line. And I realized that, yeah, I'm telling myself this story. And I believe in this identity of myself as someone who doesn't know anything about business. And I continue to believe this. And I probably would still if I didn't come across certain books and lectures that I read. So eventually, I didn't have an entrepreneurial mindset, not at all. Can you start a business without it? Well, some people do, and then it doesn't work because they actually didn't have the mindset. So what you can do is create this mindset. So how do you do this? Well, first of all, you need to understand why you want to become an entrepreneur. And a lot of people come to a point in their life when they're like, okay, it's enough. I cannot do this, I cannot do this job, I cannot do this, I cannot do that. And they sort of hit the bottom line when they realize they want to create a different reality for themselves and for their family. But then, of course, someone who never thought about business, where am I going to get the idea? Where am I going to get the mindset? And I knew that I didn't have the mindset. I knew that I was not someone who can solve problems. So I started to train my brain. I literally started to train my mind to create this new identity for myself. And the first biggest step that I did that I think made the biggest impact was to start working on my self-esteem and the kind of self-talk that I have every day. Because, you can open a podcast and get yourself motivated, like, yeah, I can do this in the first 5 minutes of your morning, and then the rest of the day you're going around thinking to yourself, like, oh, I'm stupid, oh, I should have thought about this, oh, I'm this, I'm that, and this negative self-talk that constantly creates self-doubt and self-criticism, this is not gonna get you very far, because this negative self-talk doesn't create a positive reality and doesn't create a positive future. Yeah, negative self-talk has to go. So what I started doing is that I started doing positive affirmations, and I read, more like listened. I'm more like audiobook. I cannot read. I mean, I can read, but I just cannot sit and read. I need to listen while I'm like commuting or on a plane or whatever. So I listened to 2 books from Louise Hay, and she's a motivational speaker. You can look her up. One book is called Louise Hay, The Totality of Possibilities, and the second one is I Can Do It. And so basically these books also have positive affirmations in them that you can do. And what does to your brain is that if you do it on a regular basis, say every day or a few times a week, you wake up and you start telling yourself that you're not a total failure, or like, instead of all these negative thoughts like, oh, I'm not an entrepreneur, that's not for me, that's not something I can do, I'm a loser, or whatever. Instead of that, you keep saying to yourself, I can do this. If I put my mind to something, I will learn the skills that I need to learn to become an entrepreneur. If I do not know something today, I will learn to do this. I will find people that will teach me, and if I set my mind to something, then the universe will bring me this person in my life who will give me this impact. And so I started doing this every day, instead of kind of having this identity of like, oh no, I cannot do it. I cannot do it because, no, but I'm this person, and hiding behind this person who cannot do it. I just started to tell myself, you know what, I will do my best. I will do my best. Yeah. So rule number 1, stop the negative self-talk and get out of your hole, wherever you're hiding, and say to yourself, you know what, I can do this. I can learn anything. And one of the things you have to learn is to think differently, and instead of thinking in a negative way about yourself and criticizing yourself and blaming yourself for everything and dwelling on the past and think, oh yeah, if what I would have done this, and back then if I would have made this decision, forget it. It doesn't matter now. You are here today, and this is your chance today. Every day you wake up, and every day is your chance to change your life. And when you get it through your head that this is not a pity game. This is not a pity game. No one fucking cares what could have happened or what situation you were in. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you do today, what decision you make today to change your life. And the second thing that I did, which again helped me to create this positive mindset, which is very important, is gratitude work. So you can do it in different ways. The way I did it, I started to have to journal, 5-minute journal it's called. You can buy it online, you can download a PDF for free, you can create your own, it doesn't matter. And so basically every day you wake up and you write down 3 things that you're grateful for. It can be anything, it can be small things. And in the evening you write down 3 things that were great during the day. And you know what? I mean, being grateful was maybe not that difficult, but writing down 3 things that happened great during the day sometimes was very challenging when I was coming home from work, away from home, somewhere in a hotel, because like I said, I was doing event management. Then you come super tired after like 14 or 16 hours of work. It's 11 o'clock in the evening and you don't even have the energy to call your family and say how you've been. You just crush on the bed, and like you need to wake up the next day again at like 6 in the morning. So yeah, the last thing you want to do is write down 3 great things. You're like, are you kind of kidding me? I was inside a room, a dark room full of people. I mean, a dark room, like inside, no daylight, in a conference room full of people running around, and nothing great happened today. Like, this is what you're thinking. But then this book really forces you to fish out 3 things, even if they were minor little things, that could be positive about that day. And I remember specifically one night when I came home and I was like, great, yeah, like I even didn't have lunch. This is how crazy this day was, and I barely had time to go to the toilet. So like, what are you talking about? And then I had to force it out myself, and I said, all right, my colleague gave me a compliment, so I guess this was positive, so I wrote this down. And then I said, a client sent me flowers for my great work, so this was positive. Something else I wrote, and what it does when you do this on a regular basis is that you train your mind to focus on the good stuff and focus on the positive vibrations instead of the negative ones, because everyone likes to complain, everyone likes to create excuses for themselves and reasons why something is not working, because it's so much easier to blame others or to blame the circumstances. But what this book and what these affirmations did to my brain is that even though I was really unhappy about my job, I was really depressed at my job, I managed to wake up in the morning after just a few hours of sleep with a smile on my face, because I knew I'm gonna write this journal down, I'm gonna do positive affirmations, and by the time I leave the door, I'm already in such a good mood just because I did these two things in the morning. And I was just picking up on small stuff. And what does it have to do with entrepreneurship? Well, the thing is, like, when you have a business idea and you have a negative mind, you will find 10, 20, 30 reasons why this is not going to work. Like, you will find all practical and non-practical reasons and things in the future that might happen, that you're going to talk yourself out of it. You're going to create all this negativity around this idea. But when you have a positive mindset, you look at this differently. You think, okay, well, I still want to be a realist about it, but instead of like thinking about all the problems that might happen, how can I turn these problems into solutions? So your brain is already wired into turning problems into solutions and identifying maybe some realistic issues that might occur, but you are much more able to manage them instead of just complain to them and throw them in a bin. Because imagine what it does to your brain, this habit of negativity for all these years, that you have this habit like, no, it's not gonna work, done, dusted, in the bin. No, it's not gonna work. I mean, you don't actually develop a skill of like solving a problem. You don't. And that's the skill that you need as an entrepreneur. And that's why I think you can train it, because I trained this. So if someone as negative as me could train this, and I mean, I used to be very negative. Me and my husband would have fights, like enormous fights about this, because he would come up with a business idea on his own, and I would always smash it to pieces and say why it would never work. And I mean, how he didn't divorce me for this, I don't know. But he's thanks to that. But yeah, I mean, he was getting really angry because I didn't create solutions. I would always tell him why this is not going to work. So yeah, I used to be a very negative person, and I trained my brain to think differently. It doesn't mean that you have to be always like, oh, everything is great and in pink. No, it's about seeing a bigger picture, seeing the world not like the world is just against you. You can create a positive reality for yourself. So, habit of journaling, gratitude journal, habit of positive affirmations, and taking action. Because taking action, what it does is that it creates this momentum for yourself, because you do something, you take action in a certain direction, and you're like, oh wait, this was actually not so difficult. So you can build on this momentum, and you can take another action and another action. And yeah, taking action is another topic which I want to cover in a separate video, because it's quite massive and it's easier said than done. But definitely when you take action, you create experience for yourself, and you create like this momentum of belief that, hey, you know what, I'm actually taking action now, and actually it means I can do this. So you know what, let's just do this.